First Construction Council's Infra First series of virtual events. So before we begin, we'll just let you know the proceeding. So after the initial remark and the introduction by me, there will be presentation by 3 experts we have today. And post that, we will take questions from the audience and then we'll close. So we are expecting a duration of 1 hour. So with that, let me start with the proceeding with a few slides on First Construction Council and its activities. Hope the screen is visible to everybody.
Yes, it is visible. Right?
Yeah, thank you. So the First Construction Council the First Construction Council is an infrastructure think tank focused on providing latest updates on the construction industry and is dedicated to promoting its causes and the needs. The council is a platform to promote the adoption of best practices and be a torchbearer for all policy initiatives that are needed for the welfare of the construction industry. So the council is governed by board of governors who come from the industry. And you could see some of them on the screen. Mr. D.K. Singh of L&T, architect Hafiz Contractor, Mr. Pradeep Singh of former VC and MD of IDFC. Then we have Mr. Sandeep Singh of Tata Hitachi, Subodh Dixit, former Executive Director, Sapuji Palanji, and Mr. Sumit Banerjee, who is an ex-MD and CEO of HCC Cement. And the members of the council benefit in more than one ways. These include industry networking opportunities, knowing consumption trends, understanding the market conditions better, and access to growth. And how do members achieve all this benefit? So, through the white papers and research reports that is released by the council, and we also organize several events and webinars, conferences, and industry award ceremony throughout the event. In fact, on October 9th and 10th, First Construction Council will be organizing the 14th Rahsta Expo at Geo Convention Center, Mumbai. Rahsta, which stands for Road and Highways Sustainable Technologies and Advancement, is a dedicated event to the world of road construction equipment, technology, and material. More than 100 leading exhibitors from construction equipment, material, and allied equipment industry will showcase their innovative technologies and sustainable practices used for road construction. And Rahsta Expo 2020 will be held as a part of 10th India Construction Festival, comprising events such as 14th Rahsta Road Conference, 12th Equipment India Awards, and 22nd Construction World Global Awards. While Maharashtra State Road Development Corporation Limited is the host state partner, the event is supported by the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, National Highway Authority of India, International Road Federation, and India Road Congress, Builders Association of India, Highway Operators Association of India, and National Highway Builders Association, among others. Some of the leading companies exhibiting at Rahsta Expo are Maharashtra State Road Corporation, Development Corporation, Caterpillar, Action Construction Equipment, Tata Hitachi, Zydex, Birla Pilot, then ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel, Ultratech, JSW, Shingshitter, Sani, Mahindra Construction Equipment, Whittinger, Leogon, and Terex. So these are the few names that I've just read out, but it's a whole list of over 100 companies. And also the conference, that is India Rahsta Conference, will witness participation of over 50 influential speakers from construction and infrastructure industry, construction equipment and materials, key state and central ministries, government agencies, industry association, etc. International delegations, including Japanese companies, will be among the visitors there. So on the screen, you can see the list of upcoming events which will be organized by First Construction Council in the coming months. So in case anybody is interested in joining the council, please do write us on contact@firstconstructioncouncil.com. So coming to the topic of discussion of today's webinar, as per the vision for Viksit Bharat at 2047, India aims to become a $30 trillion developed economy by 2047. A world-class road network will be crucial to achieve this goal, as roads and the highways infrastructure drive economic growth by enhancing connectivity, reducing transport costs, and ensuring sustainable development. India's national infrastructure pipeline plans to invest around 111 trillion in infrastructure projects from 2020 to 2025, with a substantial allocation earmarked for roads sector. Increasing rate of road construction will have a big impact on demand generation for equipment, technology, and material. In fact, according to experts, road construction drives nearly 35 to 45% sales of construction equipment in India. To understand more about the impact of road construction activity on the economy and allied sectors, today we have three experts with us. Mr. Sanjay Kumar Nirmal, Secretary General Indian Roads Congress, Mr. Murli Mohan, CEO of Maple Highways, Mr. Rahul Bhanduge, Director Sales and Business Development, BDB India Private Limited.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
So with this, I will just close the sharing before I hand over the platform to our first speaker. So our first speaker for today is Mr. Sanjay Kumar Nirmal. Before he begins, let me have a few words about him. Mr. Nirmal is the Secretary General of Indian Roads Congress and has been associated with the IRC for more than 30 years. Earlier, he was the Additional Director General in Ministry of Road, Transports and Highways. Mr. Nirmal joined the ministry through Engineering Services exam in 1986. From 1986 to 2017, he worked at various offices in the ministry in various capacities. He has also worked in the National Highways Authorities of India during 2003 to 2010. With this, over to you, Mr. Nirmal. You can begin your speech, sir.
So good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First, a little correction. In fact, prior to joining IRC, I was Director General, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways and Special Secretary. And now for last 2-3 years, I am looking after Indian Road Congress. So the topic of the today's webinar, that is Rahsta Roads to Viksit Bharat 2047. And I think it's a very important issue to discuss right now. What should be the roadmap for the country when we are talking about the growth of highways and how it will impact the economy. As you might be knowing that presently India has a 63.45 lakh kilometer length of road network, which is second largest in the world after USA. And we are planning to, the pace of our road construction, maybe within a year or so, we are planning to even surpass the USA data and maybe the largest road network we will be having. Out of which the national highways and expressways, we have about 1.46 lakh kilometer. And that we are targeting to have about 2 lakh kilometer in the next year by end of 2025. Then state highways is about 1.8 lakh kilometer. That is little more than the national highway. And the remaining all is the rural roads. So this is just 2.2% is the national highway length at present. And in fact, the growth of national highway, we have seen a huge development, huge growth in last 2 decades after the launching of NSDP. And if we talk about the impetus given by the present government in the last 10 years, 55,000 kilometer length has been added in the national highway alone. And that 60% increase is there from the in the length of national highway alone. When we are talking about the 4-lane and above roads, that is what we call the high traffic density corridors. So at present we have about 50,000 kilometer length So which is also a growth of about 2.6 times in 10 years. And the present, the rate of construction is 33.8 kilometer per day, which we are constructing today. And we are planning to have 40 kilometer maybe in the next couple of years per day. And I think that is, if you talk about the developed country, they may not be having even in per year, they may not be constructing 50 kilometer. And we are talking about 40 kilometer per day construction. So that is the kind of pace which we have. And if you see the data for last 5-6 years, every year we have been constructing more than 10,000 kilometer length of national highways. Last year it was 12,349 kilometer. So that is also telling about the kind of impetus given to the growth of road network and the national highways. And the expenditure is also in the to the tune of 3 lakh crore kilometer. So that is a huge expenditure on national highways alone. And the other, when we are talking about PMGSY, in fact, government has just about, I think, week back, they've approved the 4th phase of PMGSY program. So that will also add to a huge construction road, a rural road network also will be receiving in the near future. Now, when we talk about the vision 2047, that is after 23 years from now, in fact, ministry has also declared its vision that how we will be progressing in the coming 23 years or by 2047. And as per the vision statement which has been given by ministry, there are 5 key objectives of growth of national highways particularly. The first objective is stated is access to high-speed corridors within 100 to 150 kilometers to all citizens of the country. Means everywhere any citizen want to have the access to high-speed corridor, that is where the speed is more than 100 or 100 kilometers per hour. So they will be, they have just to travel 100 kilometers to reach that high-speed corridor. Then India to rank among top 10 countries in G20 for high-speed corridor density. That is another target which we have set, that we want to be top 10 countries in high-speed corridor. At present, we are very low because high-speed corridors growth was very sluggish in the earlier years. And now in the last year and for last 2-3 years, we are giving a stress on this high-speed corridor density. Then the third objective is to equitable access to national highways in underdeveloped regions. There are many regions where we don't have reasonable length of national highway road network. So that also is another priority area. Then improve passenger convenience with world-class passenger amenities. That is what was lacking so far. And the stress is being given that amenities also should be world-class. That is what the normal public, they complain that we are still lacking in the amenities. So that is another focus area. Then one important area which has come for last 2-3 years in the main focus is reduction in logistics cost as a share of the GDP. In fact, our logistic cost at present is of the order of 15-16%. So we have to plan in such a way that the national, when we are talking about the national pipelines in road projects in that pipeline and overall coordinated growth in all the sectors of infrastructure, that we want to bring it to 7 to 8% logistic cost. So that is a very important focus area, and that is where now the focus of all the railway ministry, aviation ministry, and road ministry is on coordinated development. So that these are the objectives of how we will proceed in the when we go to 2047. Now, when we are talking about such a huge road development program which is ahead of us with the focus on high-speed corridor connectivity, then there is a need of all world-class standards also, because without these standards, design guidelines and codes, we cannot construct this road. And there, Indian Road Congress has played a very important role in the growth of our road network. All our organizations, whether it is NHAI or NHIDCL or PWDs or Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, they all are following the standards prepared by Indian Road Congress. And IRC was a body which was set up 90 years back. You see, before independence, in 1934, IRC started. That is 90 years back. And in 90 years, we have seen a tremendous growth in the every aspect of the road construction, as well as the membership. Initially, there was only 73 members of IRC in 34. then today we have 19,000 members, and out of which 17,500 are life members. So they will continue to be member for their whole life. And in last 90 years, we have seen that IRC has played a very important role in the planning itself. In fact, the first organized plan was Nagpur plan, which was prepared in 1943, as back as, more than 80 years back. So we started that for country, how coordinated development should take place. And then the main objective at present of IRC is to formulate standards, codes, and guidelines and manuals for the entire country, so that country can adopt a uniform design and standards for their coordinated development for every aspect, whether it is a rural road, we are preparing for rural development ministry or rural road manuals, whether it is a national highway, whether it is a state highway, or whether it is an expressway. So, and whether it is an urban road or any kind of road or road network, IRC is preparing standards, designs, and guidelines. And so far, we have prepared 275 such codes and standards. And in fact, these standards and guidelines are prepared through technical committees in IRC. And we have a very rigorous, evaluation of our standards before it comes to the public. We have a 4 level of scrutiny. First, we have about 24 technical committees, which are dealing with specific areas, whether it is a road, whether it is a bridge or flyover, or whether it is a general contracts, or even IT, or latest area, whether it is a ropeways. So every area we are trying to cater through these technical committees. And once they are prepared by the committee, then there is an apex committee where the present Director General of the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, he chairs these apex technical committees. So any document which is approved by IRC has also the approval of Ministry of Road Transport and Highways through the DGRD, Director General Road Development Special Secretary. Then it comes to the Council of IRC, which has all the state heads, engineer chiefs and secretaries of PWDs also members, and all the NHAI or NHIDCL, all stakeholders are members of that IRC council. And once it is, this level, and before that, we also put on our website for any public comment when we finalize the draft. So these are the various levels which are our codes pass through. And our committee, we also have the input from international standards. In fact, we have MOUs with the international organization like PIARC, that is World Road Association. Then we have TRL, this Transportation Research Laboratory of UK, then Australian Road Research Association, then Japan Road, JICA. So all these are, even ASTRO. So all these associations are working in close cooperation with the IRC. And we have the MOU for even technical exchanges, particularly with World Road Association. We have very close association. Last year also, we organized one international seminar on tunnels, where we had 65 countries they participated in our seminar, 2-day seminar. And next week also, we are planning this 2024 international seminar on advances in bridge management. So that also more than 40 countries are participating. And in fact, we have 16 speakers from developed countries in that seminar, which is going to take place next week in Bangalore. So we have close cooperation, technical exchanges with all these developed bodies, so that all the codes and standard designs are of world-class standards, and there is no issue about our designs particularly. Though there are recent years, we have seen some failures in bridges under construction, and there are some issues in implementation part. That also we want that they should be discussed with the international experts. And that is why we have focus area we have kept for this, to discuss how to further improve the implementation part. So that is what we want, that all the future challenges in design and construction of roads and bridges and transportation, we should address through our standards and guidelines. So I hope that we will meet to the requirement of the government to have whatever the targets they have for 2047, all these objectives. And in fact, our expressway manual is just for 2 years back only we have updated, and last year it was published. We are trying to keep pace with all the best standards available in the world through our international affiliations with the developed bodies. So that is what I mean. This is what we are planning in Viksit Bharat 2047, the road to that, and a role of IRC in that development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nirmal. As Mr. Nirmal has to leave in another 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So, if anybody has a question, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask. Has anybody has any question to Mr. Nirmal? I don't see any hands raised. Neither there is anything in chat. Okay. I think we can go ahead with the program. I don't see Mr. Murli, Mr. Rahul, any question you have to Mr. Nirmal, you can go ahead and ask.
I think a lot of information available, sir. Thank you so much for that information, sir. I have only one question actually. So with this, like we are looking at high-speed corridors, right, sir? So are we also doing something on maintaining these speeds and like as you know the certainly few of the corridors which were the high-speed highways we have already developed, and there has been the so how do we look at mitigation of the accidents, risks, and all on these kind of high-speed corridors? Is there anything on the risk mitigation on that side is being also considered on the standard side?
I think this is a very pertinent question because the statistics says that as far as road fatalities are concerned, we are leading in the world. I mean,
Yes, sir. Yes.
fatality. And
Yes, sir.
1.68 lakh, I mean, more than 1.5 lakh for last couple of years. So that is a very, very, very pathetic issue that we are not able to control the accidents and deaths due to road accident, and high speed corridors are contributing to that. But
Yes,
we are
sir.
planning to have, more monitoring through our cameras. Speed limit also, we are planning to maintain these issues. And particularly geometric, as far as engineering part is concerned, we are very particular. All our roads should be forgiving roads, even if there is anybody, because human error also is causing a lot of accidents.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
66% accidents are because of the overspeeding. And
Yes.
overspeeding,
Yes.
unless it is controlled. So when we are planning to have, as a speed limit of 120 on expressways, and the observation wherever we are finding, particularly in Noida Expressway to Agra, that where we have done, the IIT Delhi has done a study, and they found that 95% of the vehicles are overspeeding. 95%. The speed is going as high as 200 km/h. And when we are planning for 100 or 120 and the speeds are more than 200 km/h, then
Right.
a small error, iota of error, there is no scope. Immediately it will
Definitely, sir.
fatal accident. So in fact,
Yeah.
IRC also is, we have started a draft document on speed management particularly to cater to the high speed corridors. And I feel that within a year, I think this document should come to address specifically for high speed corridor when the government focuses on high speed corridor.
Perfect.
Mr. Murli
Right,
has
sir.
a question.
Thank you so much for the answers.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nirmalji, excellent presentation. A lot of information coming through. Thank you for that. Two quick questions.
Yeah.
With the speed at which we are doing highway development, we are all part of the group which is more focused on management because it's an investor-based platform. So we don't construct assets, but we are interested in managing them for the long term. Could you throw some light on what is IRC's role on advancements on manuals and codes for highway management, specifically for rigid payments? Because you would have recalled during a certain period, India was constructing a lot of rigid payments. But when we go into managing rigid payments, working on their roughness, etc., we see lack of clarity in terms of what steps to be undertaken, especially for the long term, if you have a long-term outlook on rigid payments. Second related question is, when we are looking at asset management, we're also coming across situations where, because of implementation time restrictions on land acquisition or whatever it is, there are some geometrical issues, some constraints under which highways are developed, especially retrofitting whenever it is done. How are codes addressing these factual situations on the ground, especially when it comes to maintenance period? Because we observe that a lot of these standards are presupposing that highways are properly built. But there are a lot of restrictions under which highways are built, which affects how it is being maintained. So from a maintenance perspective, any advancements on codes and standards?
Okay. So there are two issues which you have raised. First is the asset management issue. was a lot of construction, and you are talking about the management and especially on rigid payment. I think in recent years, we
Yes,
have
sir.
seen many failures, many cracks coming on the concrete surfaces, and their maintenance issues are becoming very important because the huge construction has already taken place. Because there was a policy shift for some time after 2015 to 2020, and more concrete payments were constructed during that period. And then when we found that there are a lot of issues about the construction failures or about even the during maintenance period, there are some issues about the. So we are trying to have, I mean, they revise that particular maintenance manual for concrete payment. In fact, we have two dedicated committees to deal these issues. One is a committee on rigid payment itself, which is only talking about the rigid payment. We have a technical expert committee. And second committee is talking exclusively on asset management. So these two committees, we are looking at all the failures, particularly recent years. Just very recently, we have also noticed some issues on stabilized bases, particularly cement stabilized bases and sub bases. Also, there are some issues coming up. So these, wherever cement concrete pavement have been constructed or even cement bases have been constructed, there are, I mean, we have received references from the government also. So we are looking at again the existing guidelines, and we are trying to address the issue that what are the results of the whatever test has been taken place. I mean, recently some committees are working on this, and their feedback we are looking at. So what results, what is the outcome of this investigation which is taking place on these failed stretches particularly? And as soon as we receive those feedback from these experts, some experts are already working on all these stretches where there are maintenance problems, continuous problems. So once we get, we will address these through these two expert committees and try to bring amendment to the existing code wherever required, or if required, a separate new code to address these issues for rigid payment particularly. And asset management, even you're talking about I mean, even the friction and skid friction and all. In fact, last year only we have published a new document on this asset management. We have revised this particular manual. And I think the last year published document should address to the latest requirement of the asset management. And if there are any feedback by use of this document, then we will try to address that also.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Vikas Mittal has a question. Mr. Vikas Mittal, can you elaborate on what you want to know? Mr. Vivek
Hello.
Mittal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
hi. So I just wanted to know if there is if there is a simpler solution available out there, which is, tried and tested. How does one go about implementing it with the contractors or, via the government? How would somebody address something like that?
Yeah.
I think implementation issue is normally with the agencies. IRC role is to prepare standards, guidelines, and designs, everything, and prepare manuals. And when it comes to implementation, then we have provided through these manuals even the freedom to the executive agencies that wherever they feel that there are specific issues coming which are not addressed to the manual, then they can modify these issues. Or if I'm not very clear what you specifically, if you have, what do you want to know?
We have a product which is natural. We've done testings over about 2 years now. We've done testing with CRRI. The tests are positive. We've done tests with independent agencies and with companies like L&T and APCO. However, and it's something which is completely natural. It's reducing the cement, the chemical content, and the water content. The test has been extensive. It's been over a 2-year process with CRRI, complete in-depth R&D. However, approaching the government agencies or, I honestly, I just want kind of a roadmap if you can, because you're the expert of how does one go about telling them, okay, this works, not just in theory, but also in tests, which have been over 20 tests that have been done. So if you could kind of help me get a roadmap as to how we could go about. Thank you.
Now I understand. I think any new product, when it comes to implementation part, when it comes to India, or you maybe developed your own product, or you imported from outside any new technology or any new material, then there is an apprehension in the government that anything new they may not allow. That is what is your problem, that when you are going to agency, they are not allowing it, though you are satisfied, but they are apprehensive that whether it will work or not work. So that is why they are not allowing. For that, in fact, Indian Road Congress has a committee where this is called as accreditation committee for new technology, new materials. There, any such product which is imported in India from outside, any technology or product or machinery, and that this particular committee of Indian Road Congress, we examine these products, and we have a committee where we have the representative from Ministry, NHAI, NHIDCL, state PWDs, CRRI, and research institutes, professors from IITs. All these are part of that committee. We examine this product, and based on our examination, we issue an approval certificate for trial use of the product in India. And based on this trial based certificate of IRC, I think these agencies get comfort letter. That is a comfort letter for any agency, whether it is NHAI or whether it is or any, PWD. So if you have such a product where you have get all the tests done, and you want to implement in India, and it is not part of any standards, already published standard, then you can approach to IRC accreditation committee, and there we will examine and we will certify this product. And then I think all the agencies, they are asking for IRC certificate from all these new developers.
Thank you, Mr. Mittal, and
Thank
also
you so
Mr.
much.
Nirmal. I think we should move on to our next speaker, because there are a lot of questions that you could see in the chat box also. So I think thank you, Mr. Nirmal, for your excellent presentation, and also answering a lot of, I think, very important and pertinent questions from the audience. I think more will be there, but we cannot take all of them. I appeal to all of them. Please approach Indian Road Congress. As Mr. Nirmal has already mentioned about various committees, and they can facilitate your problem or any solutions that you want to give to the roads and highways industries. Thank you, Mr. Nirmal, and thank you for all the questions that we had.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So our next speaker is Mr. Rahul Bandugre, who is the Director, Sales and Business Development at BDB India Private Limited. He is a mechanical engineer and management professional, and has over 15 years of market research and industry experience. He brings a decade of expertise in conducting primary research across diverse sectors, and his market experience spans Indian and international markets. So with this, Mr. Rahul, you can please begin your presentation. So you have 15 minutes, so please, you can start with the presentation.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for introducing me, Mr. Rao. And I think in this group I may be a different, because I don't look at more construction sector more technically, but largely from the market point of view, and that's where my presentation will also talk more of an India, and then straight away get into the construction sector and overall trends into that into that sector. So let me just share my screen, and let me know if it is visible at your end. Yes, I have shared the screen. I'm hoping it is visible to you now.
Yes.
Perfect. So, I will be largely talking from the India perspective. I really consider India, it is now an engine of progress, I should say, which is typically it is shining across the whole of world, and towards the Viksit Bharat at 2047, where we are looking at the overall development and the 30 trillion market by 2047, while as 7 trillion is what we are looking at by 2030. So how this is what my content of the presentation today is. I would typically, like as I said, don't technically not into the construction sector, not contractor or not an equipment manufacturer, but more often from the marketing research point of view, marketing side is something what we always look at the sector. How India is really attractive towards and how is it really shining across the world is what I am going to cover. Then some insights on the road infrastructure sector today, which Mr. Nirmal has very well covered. But I would just have some base on that is something which we'll look at, and then largely we'll finish with the construction equipment past trends and future trends is something what we will look at. So let me bring to you this particular slide where you will see the yellow highlighted. That's our India, and it is shining across the whole of the world. And if you look at those why, if you look at China or Germany, UK or USA, each and every country, those are all developed countries, and some or the other way they are facing some challenges. UK facing some economic challenges with high inflation, weaker, high energy bills kind of aspects. Germany, where they are looking at the contraction. Okay, USA again, rising high interest, GDP recovery, recession. Those aspects are coming in, but and even China as well. They're largely growth target is very less than 5% aspects, and some morely driven by the domestic growth. Whereas if you look at India, we are growing more than 6 to 7%, one of the fastest growing economy, and very lowest possibly, I think, over a period of time, the way we have looked at our policies on PLI schemes or improving the infrastructure to bring down the logistic costs, and overall holistic way of policy driven growth is something which we are typically kind of so the overall strength lies is the strong economy. We are cost competitive. Geopolitically, we are stable. Kind of, there are even the manufacturing, the China plus one is also something which we are kind of looking at. Apart from the basic engineering kind of, we are also now looking at investments, and you can see investments into semiconductor coming in last. If you track those last 2 weeks, you will see a lot of projects are being, companies are interested in, a lot of investments companies are looking into semiconductor. So we stand there, and we stand there and a very unique place for new investments going forward. And with the infrastructure and road coming in place, which is very important for the development of any sector, transport is very important to reach from one to another. You need to have good roads, right? So that's where the infrastructure plays a very important role. Like as I said, the attractiveness is definitely political and economically we are there, but there is also large domestic consumption, which typically drives India. Government expenditure on infrastructure, and when we move ahead into the next couple of slides, you will see how that has the confidence of government on the developing the infrastructure is there. We aspire to become 7 trillion, and we are growing at a very good rate in last couple of years. If you look at on the right hand side, the FDI, it is also being growing, and we aim to look at it should be growing in next couple of years till 2030. PLI is one of the flagship, having the local manufacturing, domestic manufacturing growth. So around 2 trillion is something which we are looking at. RBI is also supporting across the loans for even for the infrastructure aspects as well, and inflation control as well. The double infrastructure spending is also something which we are going to look at to USD 1.7 trillion by 2030, roads and energy segment. And if you look at across the sectors, industry sectors, I mean, they are growing at a rate of 8 to 10% in India specifically. And if you put all together, human capital is something which is a very, very important for any country to grow. And demographic dividend is one of the aspects which is which is also a unique feature of our country, where almost 70% or will come from the working age population actually. Young age around 28.4 years is something which we'll look at. We are already a talent factory to the world. The low cost labor market is also something which we typically have. And apart from the technology perspective, you will see one of the second largest smartphone market. We are one of the country which is there is an arrival of 5G, and by 2030 80% of tower fiberization will typically happen. 1.4 million digitally skilled employee base is something which is very important. And again, if you track the last 3-4 weeks, we are going to have we are already having 50% of GCCs set up in India, and lot of more, almost around 2000 to 2000 to 4000 GCCs are going to come in next 4-5 years into the India market. So I think India is typically kind of looking at this is by 2027 we are aiming to become the third country as far as third largest economy by 2027. This is the overall FDI inflows, and you can see from 61 we are looking at around 135 billion US dollars by 2030, which we will typically kind of looking at. Now here, the Dr. Mr. Nirmal was even talking about. Now, apart from this, these are the top priority 10 priority segments. You can see I've highlighted infrastructure and logistics, and it makes a very important aspect, in nation building. Logistic cost 2% of GDP, which Mr. Nirmal has very clearly said that it has to bring down, and hence it has to bring down from all ways, not only from the road, but also from the shipping, the port, railways. And that's where you will see the holistic kind of investments which we are looking at into the India market. Some highlights, again, Mr. Nirmal has covered this, the around 66.7, lakh kilometers is there. 2% is national highways, 3% of state highways, and the other roads, almost 75 to 80% of the total road length of other roads comes from the rural roads. And the road development is also something which we will look at in coming this thing. Mr. Nirmala also covered, but it is more statistical. If you look at the 4-lane plus, it has and above, it has actually grown from 2014 to 2023, almost 2.5 times. The less than, the 2-lane is also something which has been upgraded. You will see that it has reduced, but actually those has been upgraded to 2-lane plus the paved shoulder way. So there was the side paved shoulders were also converted. So you will see that that has actually grown, but the that has the another second 2-lane is degrown. But that's the objective of making 2 lanes to the 2-lane plus paved shoulder kind of thing. So that you will see that from 2014 to 2023, the national highway has grown by almost around 60%. Then the decreased, like as I said, the national highway decreased from 30%, 2-lane has decreased from 30% aspect. Now, if you look at the capital expenditure over here, you will see there has been good amount of capital expenditure which has looked at by the government, which in itself, its government's priority is there for this particular sector. And from in 2023, that expenditure was almost around 20%, and this time it is the allocation for infrastructure is on 2.78 lakh crores is something which we're looking at. So last highway the infrastructure, the capital expenditure in last 5 years has significantly increased, into the national highway specifically, which in itself government shows that government commitment in enhancing the national road infrastructure for the future for 2047. Here you will see one of the aspect you should typically kind of note is that across the thing, center has remained, at the center for infrastructure, typically kind of build out. Infrastructure investments averaged to around 1.8 crores between 2003-7, and it has increased 5 times between 2000 to 2022. That is something which typically has to be noted. And infra investment, to from 2008, 8 to 2018 to 22 to 23 to 27, it will get increased by almost around 80 trillion is what we are going to look at. Then there has been programs like the Northeast region development is also on a priority of this government. Now, apart from the infrastructure, the manufacturing per se is also something the government is also looking at. You will see a lot of growth happening into the manufacturing of pharmaceuticals into the Northeast particular region. Semiconductor is also another market they are looking at for manufacturing over there. And likewise, many other manufacturing sectors they are looking at. Now, all these things require a very much, a proper development, infrastructure development plan. And that's where you will see there is a separate Northeast, region development authority they have developed. And this is going to be the completed is almost around 9,984 is already constructed in last 10 years. And another 5,000 is already going on for the Northeast region per se. Like as I said, 80% of the other roads, which is almost 95% of that other roads, they typically falls under the rural, and the PMGSY is also something is an important, the achievement they have typically kind of they have tried to enhance the rural road connectivity, and around 8 lakh kilometers of road length was sanctioned, and almost around 95% or 94% has already been constructed. Uh, and as normal, Mr. Nirmal was clearly taking a PMGSI phase 4, that has an another which will again connect around 25,000 rural habitations, which will be connected under PMG. Yes, why? So that's the union budget is something which we are looking at now. Coming to the India, I will just finish last 3-4 slides are only remaining. So if you look at the kind of growth in last 10 years, so 2014 to 2024, from almost around 50,000 construction equipment, putting all together the earth moving, road construction, material processing, and all of different categories, you will see the market has actually grown at a CAGR of 10% from 2014 to 2024. But last 2 years, you will see it has the average growth rate has been about 20% levels actually, which in itself has shown the how it has categorically grown as far as the categorically grown as far as the uh, road construction expenditure is concerned actually. So which is if you can see, I have also mapped the GDP level. So this growth is largely government's infra led growth agenda is something which we are typically kind of looking at, and this growth momentum is expected to continue in next couple of years, where 2025 we will see a similar kind of growth, a neutral kind of growth is what expected. But as soon as the second half of the year, the project starts coming in, we will see the positivity coming in place actually. Now, let me bring into you, some segment wise growth and statistics are concerned. So if you look at the construction equipment domestic sales it was almost 24% growth, for the, but exports, if you look at, if you look at over here, the exports have actually grown almost around by 49% actually. Then the earth moving equipment, the largest, which is also a largest segment of the construction equipment in FY 2024, it has grown almost around 21%, and largely it is being focused by the backhoe loaders and crawler excavators, which contribute around 55% and 35%, approximately for them. So total, backhoe and the excavator, they contribute around 90% of the earth moving equipment sale. On the material handling equipment, concrete equipment, which covers the concrete mixers, batching plants, concrete pumps, and boom pumps, they have recorded almost around 19% YOY in FY24. Road construction, while in FY23 you will see some negative growth, but in FY24 the growth has increased by almost around 40% increase in FY23 when it comes to the domestic sales, while also the exports have also increased for the road construction, which is in tune to around the 34 kilometer per day is also something. The highway rate has been there. The material processing sector sales have increased almost around 8% growth they have looked at. And then the material handling equipment like pick and carry cranes and telehandlers, they recorded almost around 61% growth into sales volume, which was compared to the like in the total sales in FY23 of total construction equipment. This material handling equipment was actually 9% of the total volume. Now this year FY24, it has actually looked at for the almost around 14% is something which you're looking at. This is something which are the projections from ICMA, that by 2030, each and every sector is going to look at. This is from 2021, and this is the vision of 2030, what we are going to look at. If you look at all the sectors, we are aiming to have the double-digit growth into the for the market. Now, both the focus is both domestic as well as the exports are concerned. And this is something, some of the notable trends is something which you can typically look at. And next 3 to 5 years is going to be very exciting phase for the Indian construction equipment. And we may witness almost around 4.5 billion worth of investments in next 5 to 7 as demand is also arising out of the infrastructure kind of projects. Now, apart from this, so this is construction, okay, equipment, and but also the opportunities are also for the newer technologies into the some of the high resolution digital cameras, drone videography, new of the materials for construction materials like modified bitumen and all. So those trends are also being looked at, like Mr. Nirmal was telling, having some of the symposiums and conferences specifically focusing the newer materials is also something which they are kind of looking at. So that's in nutshell the market. The infrastructure market looks lucrative. Road specifically looks lucrative and positive going forward in next couple of years per se. So that's all from my side here. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bandhoge, for your excellent presentation and very informative
Thank you, sir.
presentation.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
without wasting time, I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Murli Mohan. Before he starts, let's share a few words about him. So, Mr. Murli is currently a CEO of Maple Highways. He has been with the firm since December 2020 and is responsible for setting up the platform, managing assets, and advising on acquisitions. Prior to this, Mr. Murli had a 16-year stint with L&T IDBL, where he was responsible for management of 15 road projects. He has also played a role in policy framing through his engagement with various leading associations. Mr. Murli, you can please start your presentation. I will share the screen. So
Okay.
yours, yeah, you are already shared. Okay.
Yeah, if you're seeing my screen,
Yeah,
I think we'll proceed.
yeah.
It's just 2 slides.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Rakesh, for the kind introduction. We have heard 2 different perspectives today, ladies and gentlemen who are on the call. One was about the role played by a policy, I would say behemoth like IRC, in terms of what IRC is doing to put a framework around what is happening in the Indian road sector. Second, was a very major compilation of statistics around several aspects of infrastructure, very useful to keep on record in terms of what's happening where. So this is what is going to propel India, specifically on the road sector, towards its contribution towards Viksit Bharat. What I would spend my 10 minutes is on something which at least we believe has got potential to pull us back. This progress can get hampered because of unnecessary disputes. We have seen that in the past. I would always look at disputes, contractual between clients, contractor, concessionaire, or between vendors, etc. Disputes, as you know, is like tooth decay. We try to leave it assuming that it will autocorrect, but we'll end up over a period of time understanding that it has only become worse off than what it was, and we should have consulted a dentist much earlier. Something which should have been a simple fix has turned out and become a root canal. Road sector is not alien. We have had several experiences that I personally have gone across where stitch in time would have saved a project, but disputes have been left to decay for a longer period of times, leading to much more serious issues like termination or several other things. We have also seen a lot of projects where contractual disputes have been left unattended for a long period of time. It affects the basic viability of those projects, leading to financial issues and then assets moving to NCLT, etc. So if there is one thing, if you ask me, which could come in way of the progress and the double-digit growths, etc., that we have just seen, it could be disputes. So I think NHAI and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways was probably first movers in terms of identifying that this could be a problem area, and hence several advancements happened in dispute resolution specifically to roads. So I thought it's useful to talk about those because with our limited exposure to the highway development in India and some examples that we have seen internationally owing to our shareholder principles, who's from a different part of the world, the Indian dispute resolution system, as far as the roads is concerned, seems to be one of the most advanced that we have because we have learned from over a period of time. And ministry specifically has recognized that with the scale of road development, if you are building roads at 30 kilometers per day or targeting 40 kilometers per day, you're talking about large number of contracts. And of course, it's differences of opinion are bound to happen. So there's a lot of niche development which has happened in dispute resolution in roads. So maybe I'll spend the next 10 minutes trying to take all of you through what has happened. It's a sequential kind of order, traveling from step 1 to step 6. Step 1 seems to be the most effective. If parties can amicably settle disputes, then there's nothing like it. You sit across the table, talk about it, and the contract also has given a legal sanctity to it. For example, if there is a dispute, there is an element of mediation possible at various levels. Like in the NHA system, the regional officer has got a scale at which he or she can address those disputes. The project director can address those disputes. This is a classic, most easiest, longest standing dispute resolution is where you sit across the table and try and sort the dispute. Step 6 is also the longest, which is the court at multiple levels. But just like any civil proceeding, you will understand that court-related disputes, because of the different levels of the court system in India, takes as long as 20 to 25 years, much beyond the life cycle of a particular project. You get a project dispute in court. Irrespective of whoever wins it, everybody is a loser in the end. There's nothing good comes out of it, and nothing quick comes out of it, and then eventually the assets fail in terms of trying to take it through a dispute. So realizing this gap between courts being very long and highly time consuming to amicable settlements sometimes not happening, NHA has done a lot of steps, which was a development over the last 10 years. I've tried to put it in one place. Independent engineer is an agency appointed in all road countries. Sometimes they are called authority engineers, sometimes they are called independent engineers. Through a proper contractual framework, a legal structure has been brought in where the IE or the independent engineer can be called upon to mediate a dispute. Effectiveness still in question because the IE's role is sometimes akin to authority engineer's role in EPC contracts, etc. But having said that, the contract gives that independent third-party role to the IE to come ahead and mediate. Step 3 is the latest development in dispute resolution and the very exciting one. We have seen it recently happening in TOT or toll operate concessions, wherein immediately after a TOT concession agreement is signed, NHAI is calling upon the parties to form something which is a dispute resolution board. Now, dispute resolution board has to be constituted out of a standard list maintained by NHAI of over 600 experts spread all across the country. The advantage of this is we're not waiting for a dispute to happen. Immediately when you begin the concession, a DRB is constituted, which one member each from NHAI or ministry and from the concessionaire contractor side, and a chairman also. And what makes this unique when compared with other dispute resolution mechanisms is that DRB does physical site visits every quarter, irrespective of whether there is a dispute there or whether they have been called upon to address a dispute. And doing these site visits, they ask these parties, the government side as well as the private side, whether they think that anything can come up for a dispute. And then they essentially try to prevent those disputes by trying to give a solution. Now, the advantage of this is that contractually, legally, there is a sanctity provided under the concession agreement that DRB is a legally binding body, which is a third-party body, which can pass judgments wherein they try to address these issues between these parties and try to ensure that they don't gravitas minor issues into major disputes, which will then lead to contractual issues. So like in one of the assets that we are managing, DRB visits happen at every quarter. Even if we don't tell them, they keep asking us that, do you think that there is anything serious matter of difference of opinion between you that you want to bring up to DRB, where we will be able to offer you a solution. So since it's an independent third party, both the government side as well as the private side is willing enough to put it up to them, and they are expected to give a solution, understanding the contours of the contract. And since they are connected every quarter, they have a reasonably good understanding about what is happening on the asset and what the issue is really about. Even if something has not become a dispute yet, the parties inform them and keep them updated in terms of what it is. And these meetings happen at site. So it is not some remote location where the panel sits without any understanding about what is happening. They're there on the site, looking at the problem and then trying to offer a solution, something which we believe is very progressive, something that we have not seen in other ministries or other countries yet. Another step, which again is not very old, but has been prevailing for over the last 5 years, is something that NHAI created under the direction of the ministry, which is a conciliation committee of independent experts. Now, this was critical because disputes come from either side, government side and the private side. And when they resolve under the strict ambit of the law, which is the court or the arbitration, then the law of the land prevails. And you have to see either black or white. There is no provision for gray if you're only looking at the law of the land. But because it is a conciliation committee of independent experts, they try to see a middle ground. And this is more like, this is not a legal body. These are all, again, experts drawn from the market. There are only 3 panels right now, so there is limitation in terms of how much they can meet, but it operates under a charter wherein limited number of meetings happen. So there is an urgency to resolve issues, and they try to recommend middle ground. Now, this is not something that independently a private party or government might not be able to do. For example, in the government system, as many of you know, nobody is allowed to take a call outside the book or outside the clause. They have to say yes or no and no grace in between. But this committee facilitates those grays in terms of they're trying to say that you walk halfway through, you also walk halfway through, forget those disputes, come to a collective settlement process. So we have seen this happen, and this has paved way for settlement of several disputes. Projects have gone out of arbitration, projects have moved away from NCLT. People have gone back and told NCLT that give us time for us. We would like to explore CCIE. And CCIE says you have got 5 disputes. Either party has got 5 disputes, so there are 10 disputes. Rather than trying to find a solution for all 10, which would take years together, let's recommend one bucket solution wherein you take some, why don't you agree? If there is an agreement, a legal sanctity, because the CCIE has been formed under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. So there is a legal judgment that they can give, which is more a settlement formula and not really a right in law kind of formula. Like I said, there are 3 panels. These are all external experts. They meet regularly. The parties go to that panel, make presentations, not cases. And the parties don't bring lawyers. They bring technical experts, or they bring their own executives who argue their cases. And then the CCI recommends a solution. And then CCI offers that solution and then say, if you want to settle at this, we can formalize it. But if you don't want, you're free to go to step 5. But this has resulted in the last, I would say 5 years, several projects which would have otherwise failed or get cancelled have come to CCI and then got their issues settled. Suboptimal solutions possibly, but at least solutions were there and they've moved on in life in terms of going about and managing their business. Step 5 is something that all of us know. It's conventional arbitration, which is time consuming. It is open to challenge. It can be challenged in courts and it's cost excessive. But rather than full-fledged arbitration under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, what NHA has again done proactively is they have begun an arbitration council housed within NHI, which is the Society for Affordable Resolution of Disputes, or SAROD. Now, SAROD has got members which are jointly selected by NHAI and the Highway Builders Federation, which is NHBF. So there is some industry representation, some NHAI representation in terms of who should be members. It is registered under Societies Act. Again, the legal sanctities under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act govern the activities of SAROD, but there is fees restriction in terms of how much arbitrators can charge. There are a number of sessions which are also restricted. So this is, I would say, one step short of arbitration because these are quicker. There again, several projects have come to SAROD and found out a solution, which is one step short of the typical arbitration, which again can get challenged in courts, and then it moves from high courts to Supreme Court at several benches. So friends, these are some of the existing dispute resolution mechanisms exclusively available in the road sector, which if followed properly will take us towards Viksit Bharat. But like I began my talk, disputes are going to pull us back from where we want to achieve. So NHA keeps advising all parties that try to avoid disputes. So step number 3 is an effort to avoid disputes and then progress forward. But even if disputes are there, disputes are real, because if you are, like I said, if you're building 50 kilometers of roads per day, there are several actors involved. It is not just the contractor and NHA. There are so many vendors, so much of contracts getting written, and then disputes will happen. But this is a framework wherein at most occasions, amicably people try to settle disputes. So just a snapshot in terms of the developments which has happened in the Indian road sector, which in my opinion is slightly better than the international dispute resolution practices. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Murli, for your excellent presentation. And I think it's a very critical issue, to address, especially when we are talking about development and infrastructure development, which involve a lot of actors in it, and every actor has his own, contracts and other issues. So I think if anybody has a question, please go ahead and ask. Otherwise, I think we can close the day. You're already overshooting by 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody Okay. So I already in the chat box I have already put in the web page of Indian Road Congress, which has all the contacts of various committees that they have. So if anybody has to reach out to them, please go ahead and look out for the contact from that page. So with this,
Yeah.
I think we can we are close. We are closing for the day. And before I close, let me thank our speakers, Mr. S.K. Nirmal, Mr. Murli, and Mr. Rahul Mandurge for their excellent and thought-provoking talks. And we also thanks our participants. We look forward to your presence in the next webinar that is going to be on October 16th. And we would also like to invite all the participants to visit our Rahsta Expo on October 9th and 10th at Geo World Convention Center, BKC, Mumbai. For more details, you can visit rahstaexpo.com. That is RAHSHSTA expo.com. And we would like to welcome you at the Rahsta Expo conference on October 9th and 10th. So till then, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much for having us here, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Murliji. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.